Welcome to NCSS Here for You. Since 1958, Northwestern Counseling and Support Services has been providing access to high-quality services which promote healthy living and emotional well-being to the residents of Franklin and Grand Isle counties. Over the years, as the needs of the community have changed, so too have the programs and services that we make available to assist children, adolescents, adults, families, and seniors. We take our role in the community seriously and strive to provide the highest quality services. According to Eric Erickson, a noted developmental psychologist, every person must pass through a series of 8 interrelated stages over the entire life cycle. NCSS provides a continuum of services to meet the needs of individuals who at any point seek assistance. NCSS's purpose is creating a stronger community, one person at a time. Now, let's get to today's show.
I'm Joe Halco, Director of Community Relations for Northwestern Counseling and Support Services, and welcome to another episode of NCSS Here for You. Each month on this program, we discuss a human services topic, and we do that with staff from one of our 3 service divisions. Our 3 service divisions are Behavioral Health Services, Children, Youth, and Family Services, and Developmental Services. And on occasion, we have guests from organizations that NCSS collaborates with throughout the year. This month's episode is titled A Day in the Life. Perhaps your typical day starts with a quick shower followed by making and consuming breakfast before heading out to work. In the evening, following dinner, you wash dishes and do laundry. All of these and other activities seem effortless and don't consume much of your time. Now, let's say that you have cerebral palsy. How would that dramatically change every aspect of your day? To discuss that, I'm pleased to introduce this month's guests, Ken Gagne, whose story that we'll tell, and Lisa Langlois, Service Coordinator for the Developmental Services Divisions. I'd like to welcome both of you to the show.
Good morning.
Now, Ken, what is your current living situation?
Well, I have my own apartment in Swan, Vermont. I live independently with staff that comes in during the day to help me with daily chores where I need extra help in.
Now, Ken, do you like living alone?
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
I do like downtime at night after staff leaves, but within that hour or later on in the night, I get kind of lonely.
Understand that. And speaking of during the day, what types of things do you do during the daytime hours?
Well, I go out in the community with my staff because I can't drive.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to go out, and a lot of times I just go up to my parents' house.
I see. And what types of supports do you have that can help you to live independently when you talk about the supports that you get?
Okay, support 3 days of the week. I get day support from Northwest Counseling and Support Services. And then the rest of the time I have contract hours.
Mm-hmm. And the amount of hours that Ken has for direct staff from Northwestern Counseling is Tuesdays for 3 hours, and then Thursdays is only 6 hours, and then Fridays can be up to a full 8 hours. And then Ken has another staff person who only does 40 hours per week. So for the rest of us, we're able to, go through our day and not have to rely on other people in order to help us get up and get out into the community, or to even drive our own van. Ken does have his own van, but obviously cannot drive himself.
Sure.
So he relies on all of these people to take him out and do his daily chores, like grocery shopping, like that kind of stuff. So Ken is not able to leave and go to McDonald's to get a cheeseburger
Sure.
without somebody at home. So when he's making his schedule, he has to make it around when somebody's there to help.
Yeah.
And speaking of schedules and important aspects of your life, is how do you handle medication management? Because that's certainly very important.
Okay, we have a wonderful pharmacy, but package the medication, and then they put the date and time right on the package, so I know, like AM, 2 p.m., and 8 p.m.
So therefore, you know what date and time
Yeah.
you're supposed to
Yeah.
take certain types of medications.
Yeah.
And there's also restrictions now with medications. They can't be left in a post office box. So Ken relies on a staff person to actually go to the post office weekly to pick up those meds. So if it happens that somebody's not available on, say, a Monday when his meds are at the post office, Ken either has to contact a family member or contact me and say, I have no way to get my meds, and obviously he needs his meds, so somebody has to go pick those up at the post office, because they don't leave them at his building in his
Sure.
post box. So.
Sure. And I would imagine that because they are medications, is that day of delivery is always the same each week? So
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
always 7-day increments, or?
Yes, and there has been a couple of times where they actually have come late. So it could be a Tuesday or a Wednesday, where it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. So
And when that does happen, then what?
Ken would just contact me and let me know, and then what we can do is see if we can either go pick something up at the pharmacy and try to manage it that way, or they'll come later in the day, not necessarily in the morning.
I see. And let's talk about food, Ken. How do you get your food?
Okay, luckily with my staff, especially on Fridays, on Thursdays when he comes in, he can prepare a whole bunch of meals, and then we split them up into containers and put them in the refrigerator. And then when I'm ready to eat something, I just grab something out of the refrigerator.
But how difficult is that, say, if you're on your own, you don't have a support person there to be able to get that pre-packed food out of the refrigerator and get it prepared?
Well, usually I just go into the refrigerator because it's in containers, and then I just stick it in the microwave and warm it up.
And I would imagine that whole process takes quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
I'd say the other thing too, if we don't have somebody there to actually make a meal, Ken is then left with like frozen meals.
Yes.
So there's always some sort of frozen meals in the freezer. But as we all know, for us to make a frozen pizza in a microwave does not taste as good as what happens when you're putting it in an oven.
Right.
So Ken has to, sometimes sacrifice a little bit of taste because he actually has to eat something that he can't make on his own, and it has to be in a microwave because Ken cannot get into an oven,
Sure.
can't cook from the stove. Even trying to manage cooking in a crock pot is even challenging for Ken. So.
And I just wanted to say that in the past I did make a sandwich, but now with my disability, it's kind of hard to even make a sandwich.
Sure.
And with that comes a little bit of age too.
Yeah.
So as Ken gets older, he's definitely more limited on things that he used to be able to do. So, which would have been, make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or egg salad or something. So.
Now, speaking of the food and foods that can be prepared by others and put in containers versus like the frozen foods and that type of thing is certainly, there's health consequences as a part of that, because like with any of us, if we're eating frozen foods and foods perhaps out of a can or what have you, because of preservatives and other things, along with that, if you're eating a lot of that, then that could lead to other health concerns. So let's talk a little bit about
Yep, it's
what that has meant for
yeah,
Ken over
the
the years.
nutrients. Ken doesn't get, nutrients that you or I would if we would sit down and eat, a nice chicken breast that was baked instead of something that was prepackaged. He has to go in to see his doctor. There's even for like mental health, because you're not getting superfoods, you're not eating that stuff, your mental health decreases, your energy level decreases. And then even for Ken to make a salad can be a challenge. Taking the salad and putting it into a dish and adding cheese and, carrots and celery and peppers and things like that. If it's not already cut up for him, he's not going to eat that salad. And the other thing too is encouragement to eat these healthier foods. Because it's easier for Ken to swing through like McDonald's when he is out with staff, and to eat something on the fly so he can take the most of his activities, while he's out with people, instead of taking the time to cook a meal that could take up to an hour. So there's lots of health complications that can go along with that. So.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about when you're out and about in the community, Ken, is how you deal with barriers of access to, say, retail stores. You may want to go into a particular store, but depending on where they're located, there might be challenges as far as being able to actually gain access. How do you, when you're out in the community, deal with that?
Well, I've been looking at the local shops down here on Lake Street in St. Albans, and it's impossible because the doors might be okay to get into, but the aisles are so cramped because they are full with stuff, so it's no way to rearrange yourself to get through the aisle. In fact, we usually have a get together at the holidays at Jeff St. Main Food, and it's impossible to get in there by yourself in the wheelchair because they have a lift. I mean, they are nice and they try to help you in, but it's impossible to go there on your own.
There was a time period where Ken's van was actually broken. So therefore, while his van was getting fixed, he was relying on staff to take him in their own vehicle. And with that comes Ken not being able to use his motorized wheelchair. So that's either using a walker, which is really hard for Ken to be able to use a walker. He's very unsteady. And he can't, like you said, the lips in the stores, he can't really get his walker up into a store. Or even having to deal with a general wheelchair. I mean, those are big, they're heavy, they're clunky. Ken cannot, push the wheelchair on his own. He has to rely on someone to push him. And that too is hard on staff because they got to put it in and out of the trunk of the car. That creates an issue. And like Ken said too, with just general shopping, we all go into stores all the time, or like go in and out of the grocery store. Basic things, Ken cannot reach things like high up on a shelf. So obviously what he can reach is kind of right in front of him. If it wasn't for somebody being with him, he wouldn't be able to reach all the good stuff up on the top shelves. Or even in the produce section, you can only get what's at arm's reach. You wouldn't be able to grab the apples that are like way in the back that are a healthier choice. So that becomes a challenge. And just not being able to like go out and shop. It takes a lot longer for Ken to be able to get out of his van and into a store. As a matter of fact, today we were joking that it's 20 degrees outside and the wind is 100 miles an hour. I can run to the door, but Ken can only go as fast as his chair. And then he can't like hold his hood down while he's trying to scoot himself, and he couldn't see anything. He was even, I can't see, you know. But just even coming into the building today was even hard to get in and out. And then, of course, the person that is left at the van to fold up the ramp, and then they have to shut the door and then make sure Ken is like on his way. So we had to stay outside an extra like 10 or 15 seconds than it would have taken for me just to climb out of my car, shut the door, and then like run inside because it's so cold, you know. And we came inside and Ken was just like, brrr, you know, and the wind just goes right straight through. And for him, it just takes a lot longer to maneuver around. So it takes some patience.
Yes.
And I think those are the types of things that many times people don't realize that somebody like Ken has to really deal with each and every day.
Yeah.
Versus, like you said, Lisa, that you know you bounce in and out of vehicles, into stores, whatever the case may be, and we don't give it a second thought
Exactly.
in our own situations.
And the other thing too that sometimes becomes a challenge is handicap accessible doors. The building where Ken lives, it's a great building, but you don't have a button to push for the door to open. Ken actually has to physically open up this door, and it's hard for him to, you know, push the button on his wheelchair to go through and to try to hold the door. Even the door on his own apartment, it's a big, heavy door, and so it's easier when there's two people, so somebody can close the door for him, or you know, and or open it. And when Ken's by himself, he is left to his own vices, and you know, he has a hard time even going outside to the park right in Swanton, where it's nice in the summer and he wants to catch some sun. So he has to wait for a staff person or a family member to come over and just help him get out the door, you know. So it's really hard. And Ken does his own laundry as well. So while he's at home, he has to go in and out of his door of his apartment to even get around to do his own laundry. And that takes a lot. It almost takes like a whole day for Ken to do a couple of loads of laundry just to kind of go to the laundry room and to be able to go in and out of his door at his apartment.
Now, is that laundry room on the same floor, or do you have to go down a floor or up a floor?
No,
What's the...
It's on the same floor.
It is.
It's right by my apartment.
I see.
Although, what, about a month ago, the washing machine was broken?
Yes.
Oh.
And then
So we had to go down on the first floor.
Yeah.
And that was very challenging.
Yes, because you have to take your laundry and your basket and your detergent, and you have to go all the way down there just to do the laundry, and then to go back up to the apartment, and then go back downstairs. And Ken strives on being independent. And that particular day, he didn't ask for help. He did it all on his own. And then we met later that day, and I was like, oh, how was your day? And he was like, oh, the washing machine's broken. And I was like, oh, well, what'd you do? And he's like, oh, I went down to the first floor. And yet again, I was like, oh, did you ask for some help? And he said, no, I tried to do it on my own. But yet you could see completely exhausted, totally wiped out from just doing simple laundry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Now, Ken, you're a member of the NCSS Board of Directors.
Yes.
And I just wanted to ask you, do you feel that this has given you an opportunity to advocate for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities?
Yes, it helped me a lot. I see people struggling out there, and I bring to the board that what I see in the board help me make decisions best for consumers.
Now, actually, and when you attend those board meetings, do you have staff in there with you? Is there a staff person in there? So how do you manage that? Because I don't go to those meetings with you either.
Usually, Joe helps me or I ask for help.
So you have to ask people for help while you're in there? Yeah. And some people probably get busy and they're talking. Do they ever forget that you're there and needed extra assistance?
No, usually they are pretty good.
That's good.
Yeah, and I think the fact of having Ken on the board has been very helpful for a lot of the board members who once again, depending on what they do in their lives and what their backgrounds are, it's really fitting that Ken is there to be able to advocate, and I think it really helps them in shaping a lot of the decisions that they may or may not make in certain instances. So
That's great.
it's been great having Ken on the board.
Yeah, it's good that he's available to do that, so he can, communicate those things with people, the things that people might not think about
Right.
on the daily basis.
Right,
Yeah, the simple stuff.
absolutely. So Ken, it's teamwork that actually allows you to live as independently as you can. And I know the whole idea is you want to be as independent as you possibly can. And certainly we as an organization strive to have everyone live as independently as they can. Is there anything that you'd like to say about all the various people that do help you throughout the course of the week to be able to live as independently as
Only
possible?
what I can say to my staff and to everybody that thank you for being there for me. Thank you for helping me, because if it wasn't for my staff, probably I would be into a regular home.
Do you mean a home with a home provider or like a nursing home?
Probably with a home provider.
Okay. Yep. And those can be good situations. Yep. But yet too, those can also be hard situations. Yeah. So when you live with a home provider, it has to be like a perfect match, or it just doesn't work. And sometimes finding that perfect person can be a challenge.
Yes.
Yep. So for Ken, to help maintain his independence, that's why he has so many support systems in his house. And we recently started having Ken go to Care Partners over in St. Albans, just to break up the monotonous of the week.
Yeah.
Ken is able to have transportation provided, so he doesn't need a staff person to drive the van over to Care Partners to drop him off or to pick him up. GMTA picks him up right at the apartment, and then they get him right off to Care Partners, and he spends his day there. They provide a light breakfast, a lunch, and just lots of social activities throughout the day, which is very good because it exhausts Ken, so he can sleep at night. Because sometimes that can be a problem too. If you sit around all day and you watch TV, you don't waste any of your energy, so you don't sleep very well, and you're up all night. One thing I noticed when I started working with Ken is he used to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. And then because he couldn't fall asleep, he wasn't tired, he didn't have enough activity throughout the day. And then if we have staff come in, by like 9 o'clock, he's just barely like rolling out of bed. And then that prolongs the day because Ken likes to take a shower, and that can take up to an hour just for you to be able to get into the shower and get yourself cleaned up. And then breakfast can probably take close to 45 minutes, I would imagine. Even if it's cereal or toast, you have to get the bowl out of the counter, you have to pour the milk, and then it just takes a few minutes to actually eat the cereal. And then for Ken, he carries the milk over to the table and then carries over the bowl to the table so he can pour it in, so he's not carrying everything to spill all over the floor. So that becomes a challenge too, even just, getting up in the morning to do that kind of stuff. But we've noticed too, now that Ken is able to have the right supports and actually get out and waste some of the energy throughout the day, he actually is sleeping a little bit better too. There's another thing that plays on your health and your food and that too.
Sleep.
Exactly. Sleep is very important. Yep. So we found that with Care Partners, Ken can waste his whole day there and have a great time with some friends and meet some people, and breaks up the monotony of his staff, and then is very independent there. He can get around in his wheelchair just fine. They set up meals for him for lunch. And then in the evening, he does have a staff person come in, and then that person just helps get dinner ready, make sure that he's got a little bit of company that evening, and then they leave by 8 o'clock at night. So then Ken is left to TV and himself. So.
Now, Lisa, how long have you worked with Ken?
I've worked with Ken for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 2 years.
I see.
Yep.
And I'm sure that over that time frame, you know, you really grow a close attachment to ensuring that Ken make the most of each day that you're
Yes.
that you're with him.
Yeah.
And you know, you're speaking of care partners. Ken, have you been involved in any like peer support groups? I'm not exactly certain when they meet, but I know there are.
Well, it's funny how you brought that up, Joe, because I did meet with the peer support group last week. I wasn't heavily involved with them before, but I'm going back to my first meeting tomorrow morning.
Oh, tomorrow
Oh.
will be. I see, because I thought years ago that you were somewhat involved in peer support, and you know, like Lisa was talking about, the care partner scenario is certainly the peer support group that gets together is terrific as well from a socialization standpoint, and being able to, you know, connect with others that understand the struggles that you deal with.
Yep. And also too with that is Ken was part of the self-advocacy program through the agency, and actually has won awards and continues to participate in the expo at the Sheridan yearly for the self-advocates.
You know, this has been terrific, Ken, to share what it's like a day in the life of your life. And I want to thank my guests, Ken Gagne and Lisa Langlois, for being on the show today and sharing a day in Ken's life. I hope that you gain a greater understanding of the daily struggles and supports that are needed to live as independently as possible. I also want to thank you, the viewer, for spending time with us again this month. You can learn more about NCSS and all of our programs and services by logging on to ncssinc.org. I'm Joe Halco, and I'll be back next month with another episode of NCSS Here for You.
This has been another episode of NCSS Here for You. We hope that you found today's discussion informative and educational. Since 1958, Northwestern Counseling and Support Services has been providing access to high-quality services which promote healthy living and emotional well-being to the residents of Franklin and Grand Isle counties. Over the years, as the needs of the community have changed, so too have the programs and services that we make available to assist children, adolescents, adults, families, and seniors. Thanks once again for tuning in this month. NCSS's purpose remains creating a stronger community, one person at a time.